Hello there! In this tutorial, we will go through how you can improve your website performance using CloudFront. We are also going to create a brand new website and host it statically using AWS S3. After that, we are going to create a CloudFront distribution. We'll go through all the details how to do that. And we are also going to set up a custom domain and install a free SSL certificate for your CloudFront distribution. CloudFront is one of the largest content delivery network providers out there, and it is being used by the biggest companies on the internet. So, if you're interested into speeding up your website and learning more about CloudFront, let's get into it. So, why should you use CloudFront in the first place? In a normal setup, you would have one location where your server is hosted, and everyone requesting your service has to go to the same location. Let's say you're based in New York and someone coming from Australia or Europe has to go to the same server to get the same data. So as you can see, first of all, this is going to take a longer time since the distance is greater and all the load is coming to one place. So with the content distribution network, you can redistribute this load across the entire world. So you have something that is called edge locations, which are locations who cache your static content. It is important to mention that CloudFront edge locations cache only static content. This means if you are running a website, all your static data like CSS files, HTML files, videos, pictures are cached at those edge locations. So if someone requests an asset from your website from a certain location, they are redirected to the nearest CloudFront edge location and not directly to the host server. So by utilizing this, you can save a lot of time, especially if your visitors are coming from a different location than your server is being hosted at. CloudFront uses a global network of 260 points of presence, which means they have 205 edge locations and 16 regional edge caches in 84 cities across 42 countries. So Amazon CloudFront also offers you a lot of customization options. You can specify, for example, a time to live, which represents the time that your files are cached at a location after being removed from that location. You can also specify custom policies, custom filtering options, and so on. In my personal experience, it provides the most customization features from all other providers. Now, log into your AWS console. First, we are going to create a static website and host it on S3. After that, we are going to create a CloudFront distribution and go through all the settings there. And in the end, we will also add a custom domain and import an SSL certificate for our CloudFront distribution for free. So let's navigate to S3. Now we can create a new bucket. So click on the Create New Bucket button and type in your bucket name. You have to note that the bucket name needs to be unique. So if the name is already taken, you are not able to use it. So let's go with something like example 2020 CloudFront.com. Now we can click next. You can also set other parameters like tags, object level logging, CloudWatch, but we are going to skip this for now. Just go to next. Now, in order to create this publicly available, we are going to uncheck this, block all public access, and then click I acknowledge that. So this means that everyone is able to access our S3 bucket. which is required in order for the website to be reachable on the internet. Now click next, and we can leave everything else as it is and click create bucket. So hopefully our bucket should be created now. We can click refresh, and let's search for the bucket. It's example 2020 cloudfront.com. Now we are almost done. We still need to change our permissions. Go to permissions. So if you haven't clicked it already, you should now change your permissions, but we have already disabled this, so that's fine. Now go to bucket policy, and now copy the following policy from the AWS website. So I'm just going to copy this and just paste it into our S3 bucket policy. One thing we need to change is our domain name. We are going to use the name of our bucket, which is example 2020 cloudfront.com. Just copy that and paste it. That should be it. Now click save. And you should get this warning: this bucket has public access. Now we can go back to the overview, and we can upload our files. For this example, I have just downloaded a free Bootstrap theme, but you can, of course, use the website you would like to upload. So you have two options. You can either click here on add files and choose the files, or you can just drag and drop the files into this area. I'm just going to drag those files over here and click upload. Now all the files should be uploaded to our S3 bucket. There is just one thing we need to do in order for this to enable hosting. We need to go to properties and go to static web hosting. Click on static web hosting and choose the option use this bucket to host a website, and specify your index file, which is index.html. And you can also have an error HTML, but for the purpose of this tutorial, I'm just going to use the same index.html file. Now click save, and our website should be reachable on the internet now. We still cannot reach the website under the domain we have chosen. We are going to do this in the next step, but we can choose it under the default domain provided by S3. So we are going to click on index, and after that open this URL, and our website is online. Now, after we have created the S3 bucket, let's create our CloudFront distribution. Type in CloudFront. And click the button create distribution. So we have two options. We can either create a web distribution or an RTMP distribution. So the web distribution is going to host static files like HTML, CSS, PHP files, photos, images, and so on. And the second option is for streaming video. So if you are going to stream video, then choose the second option. But if you are still following the tutorial and hosting a static website, choose the web option. Now we can specify the origin name. For this, we are going to use the CloudFront. We are going to use the S3 bucket we have just created, which is the example cloudfront.com. The origin ID is being generated automatically. We are not going to restrict bucket access. Now we can specify a lot of options here, like the origin connection attempts, the timeouts, the protocol policy. We can redirect, for example, from HTTP to HTTPS, or allow only HTTPS. So I'm not going to change those settings. I will leave this up to you and your specific requests. We can also specify the time to live, which represents how long the files are going to stay cached at the location. I'm also going to use the default ones here. And we can also specify some other rules and filters. We can also specify a Lambda function, which means that every time a request is made, a Lambda function is being executed. You could, for example, use this to monitor certain requests or save certain requests, basically monitor your incoming traffic, or maybe execute a certain function you need to execute. Then you can also specify alternate domain names or CNAMEs, and we can also use a custom SSL certificate. So let's just create the distribution for now, and later on we will create a custom domain name and import a certificate for that custom domain name. So click Create Distribution, and now we need to wait for the distribution to be deployed. This can take from anywhere around 2 to 10 minutes in most cases, but it could also take a bit longer. After around 10 minutes, the CloudFront distribution should be deployed, and we can also change any settings afterwards we would like, but we also need to wait a few minutes for the changes to propagate. One thing we also need to add are the error pages. Go to the error pages and click Create Custom Error Response. So we are going to choose the 403 forbidden HTML error code, and we can just use the default time to live. We can also create a custom error response for that case, but I will just use the default one. Now click Create. If you are getting an access denied error, what you need to do is specify a default root object. In our case, this is the index.html file. So just type in index.html in the default root object and click Yes Edit under the General tab of the CloudFront distribution settings. And now the website should be available on the internet. But as you can see, we are not using a custom domain, we are using the CloudFront distribution default domain settings. So in order to create an SSL certificate for free with CloudFront, just go to the general settings and click Edit. Now go to request or import a certificate with ACM, which should redirect you to this page. Now we can type in our domain name. I'm using a simple domain that I just purchased. So type in your domain name and also type in all the variations of your domain name that you have, like for example www, app, or API, or whatever. You can also type in *, which should include all the subdomains you have under that domain, but I'm just going to go with this one. Go to Next. Now you can validate your domain name via DNS or email verification. If you want to validate it via DNS, click Next. We can skip this step. Now click Confirm and Request. The validation with the email is in most cases simpler, but you can do it this way as well. So what we need to do now is to go to our Route 53 and just copy those records. But AWS also provides you a convenience method. You can just click Create Record in Route 53, click Create, and the record will be created automatically for you. In most cases, the validation takes around 45 minutes to complete. Now we can go to Route 53 to actually check that our settings are added there. Go to your hosted zones, go to the hosted zone you would like to go to, and here is our CNAME record we have just added. You can also confirm your domain via email, which in most cases is much faster. But if you don't have a dedicated email or don't have access to it, you can also do it via DNS validation. After the certificate has been validated, we can return to our CloudFront distribution under General Settings. Again, click Edit. And now we can see that we actually can import the certificate. Go to Custom SSL Certificate, and here you can import the certificate that has just been created. You need to wait for it to be validated in order for the certificate to appear under those settings. And we can also now change under alternate domain names the CNAMEs that are going to point to our CloudFront distribution. So in this case, we are going to use the domain studytech.com. After you have added those settings, click Yes, Edit. And again, we need to wait a few minutes for the changes to propagate. There is one more thing we need to configure, and this is Route 53 actually pointing to our CloudFront distribution. So just copy the CloudFront distribution domain name, go to Route 53, go to your hosted zone, and create a new A record set with the alias option on yes, and just paste in the CloudFront domain name. Now, I'm assuming that you have purchased your domain name with CloudFront, but if you haven't, if you are using a provider like, let's say, Namecheap, then you would need to log into your Namecheap account and actually configure your custom DNS to point to your AWS name servers. After you have configured that, you need to wait a few minutes to a few hours. It can take theoretically even up to a few days, but eventually you should be able to reach your website under HTTPS under the custom domain name you have configured for your CloudFront distribution. Also, don't worry if you see this little warning sign on the HTTPS padlock under the URL. It mostly takes some time for the browser to configure this and don't flag it as unsecure. But in most cases, Firefox lags a little behind. In Chrome shouldn't have this problem at the beginning, but eventually, after a few hours or days, they should also disappear and the padlock should be all cleared. One more thing at the ending is also, if you have done this only for learning purposes, you should also delete the entire infrastructure in order not to get any costs. So if you want to delete the infrastructure, first go to your S3 bucket, click delete. You need to type in the name of the bucket in order to confirm the delete. This should delete your bucket. Now also go to the CloudFront distribution and click the distribution we have just created. You first need to disable it, and after it has been disabled, you can afterwards delete the configuration. You can also remove the hosted zone. I'm going to skip this part for now, but then your infrastructure should be all cleared. I really hope you found this video useful. If you would like to see more content like this, please consider subscribing to the channel and like this video. If you have any recommendations or questions, just send me a private message or just write in the comments down below what you didn't understand, what you would like to get improved, or generally just write down your ideas and thoughts. Thank you for watching and have a great day.